Hey everyone, welcome back to the fourth part of our AI art generator. In the last video, we have written all the functionality which connects our backend with the frontend, and we have built a couple of components. Now we're going to start where we left in the last video. So we can come back to the pages index and we're going to make a couple of changes in our UI component. So I made a couple of typo. That's what we're going to fix it. So we are importing the packages. Here we are importing the icon. Here we have all the components we have import, and here we have the two function get all image AI, and we have the check auth. And here we have all the state variables we have taken, which we have covered extensively in the last video. So if you haven't watched, make sure to watch that video, then watch this one. And here we have all the function we have built for filtration and getting the data from our backend. That's all looking good. Now the very first fix we have to do is right up here. So here I made a small typo in the spelling of absolute. So make sure to fix this. So instead of this, you have to type absolute, A-B-S-O-L-U-T. That's the one change you have to do. And you can come back here, and here is going to be a self-closing div. This is going to be the self-closing div, and that's what you have to do here. And from here you have to simply remove this div. If I bring it back, and if I'm going to bring this back, you will see that we're not going to have proper alignment. So let me reload the page, and you can see the alignment is not perfect. So we have to fix this. Simply close this one, and we have to simply comment this div. So make sure to do this change, and if you reload the page, you will see that now it's perfectly aligned. Everything's working fine. And this is the image which was not aligned perfectly because of the spelling mistake we made it. So here instead of A-B-S-O-L-U-R, you have to type the right spelling of absolute. So if I bring this back and save it and reload the page, you will see that the image is out of the input field. There it is. So we have to simply give the right spelling. So this is the only two change you have to do. Simply remove this div and remove that. So everything is looking good, and now we have to do a couple of changes in the variable name in our utility function which connects our backend. So we can come back here in the utils. We can come back to the utils, and here we have built all the function which connects our backend. So the very first change we're going to do, I hope some of you have noticed this. So we can simply open this particular function, and here we have to change the method. So it's not going to be delete, and you will encounter this problem. You will commit this mistake when you're going to do a little bit copy paste. It's a normal. If you are getting that, you can see I'm also getting it. So it's normal. It's a part of development. So all we have to do is to change with put, because we have to update that. So if you come back to the backend API, in that we have to go to routers. In that you will see that here we have the user, and that's what we are targeting. If I open this one, in that we have this method called put, and that's what we are calling it here. So change this to put in capital. That's the one change you have to do. That's the first change you have to do. Once you're done with that, save it, and the rest will be fine. Now close this one, and then next we have to check list delete. So delete is fine. We don't need to do any changes here. This is absolutely great. Then we have to check this get single post. This is also good. We are getting all the data from a backend API based on the single post ID. That's good. And here we have this return, and that's what we are returning in our backend, and that's what we are calling here. So it's perfect. Close this one. Now we can simply come back to the get user AI images, and here we have to do the changes. You can see the endpoint is not this. We have to call the user endpoint. Instead of all, we have to call user. So this is fine. Here we have to make the changes. So we can come back here in the router, in the post section. There you will find we have this user. Like this is the one we have to call it. So simply copy, and that's what we have to call. Simply copy, and that's what we have to simply replace. This is the URL we got it, which will give us all the posts created by a user. Perfect. We're done with that. Now we can simply come back here, and we don't need to do any changes in this. It's absolutely fine. Here we have this V2 model, and here we have to do the changes. So you can see we are checking the auth controller, and here you can see that I have called prompt V3, but it's a V2. So we can change this. There is no problem in that, but let's make it V2. And here we are taking this N. Let's change this first V2. And change this to V2. So this is the first change you have to do, and this is fine. We don't need to make any changes. We need all of this data, and you can see this is the extra variable we have. Actually, we don't need this one, so we can simply remove this one, save it, and the rest will be fine. We are simply making the call to our backend, and we are storing the data. Perfect. That's the one change you have to do. Now you can simply close this one. Now let's come back to V3 and let's have a look in this. So this is fine. We are getting this, all of that, and then we are making the call. So this is fine. You don't need to do any changes in that. Then the next one we have is dislike post. To open this one, and in that we are making the call, and absolutely fine. Don't need to make any changes. Come back to the like post. We are getting the post ID and simply passing the details to our data and the ID. This is also good. Close this one. Here we have the check auth. We don't need to make any changes. It's going to give us all the details about the user, and that's what we are returning at the end. Then we have this logout, and this is fine. Keep it as it is. And here we have to make the changes in the logging user. So this is fine. This is two information we are getting from the front end for logging, but we have this extra variable I have noticed. Let's remove this one and save it. So this is the one change you have to do, and the rest would be fine. Like this is fine. Perfect. Close this one, come back to the register user, and you can see we don't need to make any changes. This is going to be exactly the same. So make sure to do this update. I hope you guys have understood that what exactly we have coded in the last video and how you can do this minor changes. Now we can come back to the index page, and now we're going to start working ahead. So if I reload the page, you can see everything is working fine, and here you can see everything is working fine. The button is aligned. We have the tab. Now we're going to start working on the other components. So let's come back to the code, and here you can see that this is what we have noticed. So let's start with the notice, because this notice will contain the information about the two different models which user can select. So that's what notice we have here. So we can come back here, close all of this open folder, and we can go back to the component. Inside the component, we have this particular one called notice, and that's what we're going to start working on it. So we can simply come back here, make side by side, and let's click on this tab. You can see our notice component is opening perfectly. Now let's write the code. So first we have to import couple of things: use state, use effect. Then we can import our icons, and that's coming from SVG file. In that we need the tick and arrow down. So these are the two icons we need. Then we can simply come back here, and we're going to take a couple of state variables. So first is going to be our open notice. By default will be false. The second one we're going to take is, let's say, active model. This will keep the track of that which model is active currently. So by default I will go with this V2 model. So I'll say EV2, and you have to give the exact name, and this is the exact name we're going to use it for triggering different function based on the V2 model. So this is what we have by default. Now we can take an array of models which we can keep in this particular variable AI model, and we'll keep it as an array. So first is going to be the same one, simply copy and paste, and we have to simply copy the same thing, and we're going to simply give this will be V3. So we got this two model. Now we can come back here and let's take a variable. This will be AI model, and by default we'll have V2. Perfect. Got it. Now we can come back here. Let's build a function which allow us to change the model. So in that we're going to take the model as an input. So let's come back here. We'll simply call set AI models to be model, and this model will come from the input field. So we'll take this model, and that's what we have to pass here. Then we have to set this model in our local storage so we can utilize in different pages. So we're going to give this name active model, and it's going to be a model. So that's the key name, active model, and the value we're going to store in the model. So that's the function we have. Now we have to simply set this to active model to model, and the last one is going to be the set open notice is going to be false, because when the user will click, it's going to open pop-up model, and after that we have to simply reload the page. So let's call this window location reload, and that's our function is ready. After that we can simply come back here. We'll take a use effect, and we have to get the information from our local storage. So what we can do, I want to run this function one time when the page will reload. So here I have to do one thing. I have to get the information from the local storage about the model. So we'll say var value local storage get item, and we have to target the key, so active model, so I can know that which model is currently active. After that I have to simply check if value exists. Then I have to simply set that in a AI model, and this will be our set active model, and that's the only thing. So it's going to change the entire application based on the model and all the data. Now we're going to start working on our JSX. So we can come back here. Let's take a class. It's going to have flex width full, max width is going to be, let's say, 48 pixels. Then we'll have padding x 4, padding left 5, and on the medium device we'll have padding x 5. Then we'll have a style. It will have position going to be relative. Perfect. Inside that we're going to take a dynamic data. So we'll take this open notice. If it's true, then I want to display this component. We'll take a div. It will have a style. Let's call this display is going to be flex. Flex direction is going to be column. We'll have min width is going to be 238,492 pixels. Then we'll have top is going to be 0. we'll have bottom is going to be 0 pixels, we'll have height is going to be 44. Let's take it as a string, so we'll take this 44 pixels, 441, and then we'll have the margin is going to be 10 pixels and 0 pixels. Then we can come back here, we'll take this min height is going to be 732 pixels, we'll have max height is going to be 753 pixels, and we'll have z index is going to be, let's say, auto. Then we'll have position is going to be absolute, because we have to change the alignment based on the different screen size. So that's what we got it. Now inside the div, we're going to take couple of more data. So what I will do, I'll simply come back here and I'll give this hey, and I'm going to simply check the click event. So if I click on this, you can see our click event is working and the components is open, so everything is working fine. So what I will do, I'll simply remove this one, and now I can simply come back here. Let's take a div, it will have a style, let's call this box, sizing is going to be border box, then we'll have max height 100%, we'll have display flex direction column, outline none, pointer event auto. That's what all the styles we got it. Now we can come back here, we'll take a div, it will have a class background zinc 800, padding 1, drop shadow medium, border zinc 700, rounded medium. Then we'll have a style, let's provide the property, so it's going to be position is going to be relative, we'll have flex 0%, overflow is going to be auto. Inside the div, we can come here, we'll take a div, it will have a class, let's call this select none. Inside that we'll have our dynamic data, so we have taken the two model and those data we have to run, and that data we have to render here. So we'll take this AI dash model, we're gonna run a loop and we'll call it model index, and it's going to be an instant return, and here we have to simply build that JSX, a div. So we'll take a div, let's close this one, it will have a key, let's call this model, let's provide an on click function, when the user will click we have to change that. So we already built the function change model, in that we can simply pass the model. Then we can assign the class, let's call this flex space x2, items center, padding x4, padding left 8, padding right 2, and we'll have a cursor is going to be pointer. On over effect we won't have a background color is zinc 700, and we'll have a rounded, text is going to be small, relative, we'll have a focus, on that we'll say outline is going to be none. So these are the classes we have. Now we can add, come back here, inside the div we'll take a span and it will have the data, the model, and you can see we have the model. Now I can do one thing, I can come here and I can take a dynamic block because I have to display the data. So I can come back here, I'll say if AI model is equal to model, then I can display the span, let's close that one. In that it will have a class called width 6, left 0, and we'll have absolute, got it? And we can have it here, and we have to display the tick that which one is active. So everything is looking good, and I can see the problem. So here we have the issue, so width is going to be something big, so let's change this to 600 pixels, and I want to add one more class here. Let's call this one is medium, margin left is going to be 48 pixels. Now I can come back here, and here I can simply do one thing, and we can come back here and we'll take a, let's say div, it will have a class, we'll call this width full, flex column, item center. Inside that we'll take a div, it will have a class called width full, padding x3, padding top 3, flex space x1, item center, we'll have justify center, padding right 12, and there it is. You can see the click event is working. Now we can simply come back here, we'll have a button, we'll say it will have a class called flex, cursor, pointer, select none, on over effect, background zinc 900, over effect, background opacity is going to be 50, padding left 3, padding right 3, and we'll have a padding right point 2.5, padding y is going to be, let's say, 2, and we'll have a items center, justify center, space x 1.5, and we'll have a rounded. On focus, we'll say outline is going to be none, text x small, and we'll have text zing 200 color, and you can see the styling is looking good. Right now you can see the empty space, but all the stylings are applying, so looks good. Now we can simply have a type is going to be a button, and here we can add an on click function, and based on this we have to simply open the notice. So we'll say if open notice is true, then we have to make it false. We'll set open notice to false, but if it's false, then we have to turn it to true. Perfect. Now we can simply display the text. So we can take the span, and it will have a style. Let's call this pointer events is going to be none. Inside that we can take this active model, and there it is. You can see the text is reflecting fine. This looks good. You can click and it will open the model, but there is some problem in our pop-up model. It's not displaying properly, so I have to see what's went wrong. Now we can come back here and we can take a span. It will have an aerial attribute, so aerial hidden is going to be true, and inside that we can take this arrow down icon. So there it is. The icon is looking good. You can simply close, open, and you can click on this. It will open the pop-up model, but somehow it's not working, so we have to see what exactly went wrong. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here and I can see the problem. So what I will do is come back here, and here we have to simply provide the tick icon. So come back in this AI model equal to model. In that we can simply provide the tick icon, so it will open the pop-up model and is going to display that which one is currently active. That's the one change you have to do, provide that. And the next one you have to do is here. So you can see this is the problem. This is the problem. So you have to replace this with instant return. So remove this, and you can simply come back here, and here you have to do the changes and save it, and this will fix the issue. And you can see I'm getting this warning because I have this semicolon, and that's what I have to remove. Just remove this one, and this will fix the issue, and now it's working fine. Now the moment you will click, it's going to open the pop-up model, and you can see currently v3 is active, but you can simply click on v2 and it will be active, and it will reload the page. So if you click on that, you will see it's v2 active. So the logic we have implemented, the tick is, everything is working fine. So that's the entire code we have in the notice. I hope you guys can understand that what exactly we have done. So make sure to do this minor changes, but the rest would be fine. Here you have to make it instant return, and here you have to provide the tick, and the rest would be fine. This all looks good. Now we're going to start working on the next. So come back to the index page, and there we have done with this notice. Now we can simply come back here and we can start working on our button. So where it is, we have it. So come back here and we can go back to the header, and inside the header we have a lot of components. Before we start working on the button, let's work on the header component because we have multiple components in that. So we can come back here and you can see here we have this header logo. That's fine, and this is fine. We don't need to do anything in here. So here we have this icons, and here we have this setting. So that's what we have to work. Simply copy this one, and that's what we're going to receive right up here. Let's receive the prop. And I remember one thing, before we start working on the setting, we have to work on this get started. You can see on the top we have. So let's work on that first, because we have two components in that, and this setting component we are utilizing in this get start as well. So let's work on this first. So we can simply copy this and let's receive that in the prop. So we can come back here and let's receive it. We got it. Perfect. Now we can simply import couple of things from React. Is going to be use state and use effect. We got it. Now we can simply come back here. We have to simply import the cookie because we have to get the cookie from the browser to check the authentication. So we got it. Now we have to import the setting component. This is going to be an internal component which we're going to utilize it. So that's the setting component. Now we can come back here. Let's take a state variable. This will be auth. By default, it will be false. The second one is going to be our another state variable. This will be called open setting. So when the user will click on the get started, it will open the setting component. So by default, it will be false. Then we can come back here. Here we have to take this use effect and we have to get the data. So come back here. First, we have to get the cookie. So we have to get the cookie which is stored in the browser. So we'll say store cookie value. We'll say cookie dot get, and we can give the key pair we have given, which is the token. We'll say if store cookie value is available, then we have to simply set this to auth to true, else we can make it to false. Simple logic. I hope you guys have understood. We are getting the cookie and doing the authentication. That's ready. Now we can simply come here and we can start working on the JSX. So first we have to convert it into a fragment, and we have to remove the text. Inside that, we're going to start taking this dynamic block because it's going to have two components. So first we have to say if auth is true, then we have to render this, otherwise we have to render this. Simple logic. Now let's work on the JSX. So we'll take a div. It will have a class. Let's call this, on a small screen we want to say hidden. It will be absolute, width full, flex, item center, justify, and top to, right to. We got all the classes. Now we can simply come back here. We'll take a button. It will have on click function, and we have this called open setting. If it's true, then we have to make it false, and if it's false, then we have to make it true. Simple logic. We got it. Now here we have to add the classes. So it will be height 7, width 7, rounded, full, text, Excel, and it will have a media. We'll say text small. Background is going to be Zing 800, border Zing 700, and we'll have a drop shadow, flex, item center, we'll have justify, center, we'll have opacity, let's call 800, and we'll have on over effect, we want to have opacity turned to be 100. So we got all of these classes, looks good. Now we can simply provide the type is going to be a button, and inside that we can display the G, because that's what we're going to display. We're going to display the first character of the user name, which is the G. We got it. Now we can start working on the next one. So this looks fine. What we can do, we can simply come back here. We'll take this portion, copy and paste here. We got it. Now we have to do the couple of changes. So first thing we have to do is, this looks good and this particular is good. We don't have to make any changes. We have to make the changes in the button. So convert it to an anchor, and we have to remove this one, and we have to redirect the user to the login page if they're not logging. So we can say /login, and we have to change the classes. So simply remove all of this, and we can add flex, items center, justify, center, height 8, rounded, medium, opacity 90, over effect we want to have brightness 110, padding x 4, we'll have text extra small. On the medium device we'll say text is going to be small, background is going to be gradient 2, and we'll have from indigo 800, we'll have VIA indigo is going to be our 800, and we'll have 2 indigo is going to be 600, and we'll have a drop shadow, we'll have font medium, and we'll have white space is going to be no wrap. Perfect. You can see that blue with the text, it looks good perfectly. You can click and you will redirect to the login page. So that's working absolutely fine, because right now we are not authenticated. That's why this particular button is reflecting. So we can simply do the changes in the text. This looks good. Now we can simply remove this to get started, and there it is. Perfect. And that's the only thing we have to do here. Everything's looking good. If we find that we need to add a couple of more things, then definitely we come back here and we can do that. So let's make on the big screen to see. You can see that's how it's going to look. Reload the page, and things are looking good to me. Now we can simply make it here. Let's expand on different screen sizes. So it's good. Come back to the code. So we're done with this. Close this one. Now we're going to start working on our setting component, because this setting component is also going to be available in the get started component and the navbar components in 2 places. So that's what we have to work. So we can come back here and we have the button. So before we work on that, let's do one thing. We can simply come back here and we have the header here. So let's work on the setting first, then we can start working on the button. Come back here. Let's make it side by side so we can see what exactly we are working on. So let's click on this, make it here. So that's how it will look. Now we can start working on the setting component. So first we have to import couple of things. So we have to import the utils, and in that we have to simply import our logout function, because in that we'll have the function which user can click and they can log out. We have the logout function, then we have to simply import. Let's import our CSV icons. Let's call this ISO log in out. We got it. Now we can come back here, and here we can start working on the JSX straight away because we already have the function ready. So inside the div, we can take a div. It will have a class. Let's call this class width 64, background zinc 800, z index 5, fixed ring 0, top 5, rounded medium, drop shadow, shadow text small, flex column, items start, overflow hidden, border dash zinc 700 will have a slider, drop and fade. Perfect. We have all the classes applied on the div, and we can add the divider. So we'll say divide y, and we'll have divide z 700, and we'll have our style. Let's call this margin right is going to be 1 ram, and we'll have a margin top is going to be 2 ram. Perfect. We got all of the classes and our custom style. Inside the div, we'll take a div. It will have a class. Let's call this padding x is going to be 4, padding y is going to be 2, background zinc going to be 700. We'll have a background opacity. We'll have a background opacity is going to be 50, width full. Inside the div, we'll take a div. It will have a class called flex items center. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called rounded full, height 7, flex shrink 0, will have a width 7, flex item center, justify center, background zinc 800, margin right 2. Inside that, we'll take a p tag, and it will have our data about the user information. So we'll take this user, active user. In that, we can display the user name, and we have to slice it down, and we have to display the first character of the user. So we'll take this 0 to 1, and I have to convert it to uppercase. So I hope you guys have watched the demo video in which I have explained that what exactly we are building. So this is what we have, the name. Perfect. Now if you come back here, so what I will do, I will simply turn this to false. So here I'm in the head. I will simply give this one and save it. And if I come back browser, you can see it's reflecting fine. If I click, it will open the pop-up module. So now I can come back here, and I can simply come here, and I can simply see all things are looking good here in the header component. Perfect. Close this one, come back to the get started, and here we have exactly the same thing. If I simply provide this, it's also going to be visible in our mobile device. So here you can see it's reflecting that G. So we can come back here in the setting. Now we can simply go ahead and start working. So we'll take a span, we'll take a class. Let's call this font medium. Inside that, we'll take our dynamic data. So we'll take this active user, email. We got it. Now we can simply come back here, and we'll take an anchor, and in that we have to take this custom styling. So we'll take this display is going to be flex. We'll have a justify content is going to be center. We'll have a align items going to be center, and we can come back here, and we can have the regular classes. So let's call this width is going to be full, padding x4, padding y is going to be 2, and on over effect we want to have a background zine 7 and flex justify center. Well, come back here. Inside that, we'll take our text. We'll say create credit left, and we can give this HTML space tag, and we can display our icon, and when we have to simply copy and paste here and display the actual credit which user have, and that data we have here in the active user credit. Perfect. We got it. Now simply copy, and that's what we have to simply replicate here. And all we have to do is to simply remove this one, and we can simply remove this data because we don't need this data. Simply provide this href, and we want to redirect the user to the account page so he or she can buy that. Now we can simply remove, and we can call it buy credit. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here. We'll take a button. It will have a on click function, and we'll simply add a logout function. So we'll take this logout, and it will have the class. So let's call this width full, padding x4, padding y2. On over effect, we want to change the background color to zinc 700. Inside that, we can display called sign out. Perfect. If I make on the big screen, you can see that's how it's going to look. So I'll come back here, reload the page. If I come back to the code, and here I am in the setting, and if you can come back to the header section, go to the header, and I can simply bring this back. So let's give this to exclamation, and here we are having our setting component. You can see looks fine. If I turn this on and save it, come back to the browser, it's reflecting that circle, but the data is not reflecting because there is no user we have created. If I click, it will open the component. You can see all of the data, all of these details are looking fine. Perfect. You can close it, you can open it. You can come back here, and if you want to check the data is reflecting, you can simply do that. You can simply come back here and you can provide this G, and you will see it will reflect fine. So when the user will create their account, they can able to find their details right up here. So it's working absolutely great. Now we can come back here and just remove this one and save it. So this is the setting component. Looks good. Now close this one. Now we can simply come back here. This is good in the desktop mode. Now we have to do the same thing in the mobile device. So first I have to change this one, remove this one, save it, and just keep it as it is. Close this one. Now we can simply come back here in the get started component, and here you will see that here we have this one. So we have taken that exclamation mark. Now we already have this setting component, and that's what we have to call here. So it will also visible on a mobile device. So we'll say if it's true, then we have to display it. So we can simply send the user information, and perfect. Save it. Now it will work fine. So come back to the browser and just make it side by side so we can see how it looks on a mobile. Bring it back, and you can see it's look great. If you click on it, it will open the model and you can find the details. Click open, working fine. So we are done with this component as well. Let's remove this one for the time being, because when we're going to bring the login functionality, it will automatically going to trigger based on the token. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here and come here, minimize this one, and we can simply come back here, and we are done with this. We're done with this. This will also look good. Now we have to work on the button components. So this button component we have to work. So let's make it side by side. Now we can simply come back to the button component. So it's in the component button, and we have to receive the prop. So it's going to have multiple props. So first is going to be the icon, second is going to be the function, and then we're going to name, and it will have the category. Let's convert it into a button. Let's provide an on click function, in that we can simply pass the handle click. Let's assign a class. It's going to be a dynamic class, because when on the click event, based on the active category, we have to change the classes of the button. So first is going to be, let's say, text, extra small, rounded, medium. We'll have on a small screen, we'll say text is going to be small. We'll have a group, margin top is going to be 4, white space is going to be a no wrap, flex 1, flex, we'll have a select none, cursor, pointer. You can see it looks beautiful. We have to simply change the brightness to be 110, and we'll have a background. Gradient is going to be to top, and we'll have a with fit content, justify content, items center, padding X 2.5, and we'll have a drop shadow, and we'll have our dynamic class. So we'll say if category is equal to name, then we can simply apply this class. So we'll say from indigo 900 VIA indigo, this will be 900. We'll have a to indigo 800. We'll have padding 2.5. We'll have active is going to be scale 95. We'll have a transition all, else we have to apply these classes. So this will be from zinc 700. We'll have a VIA zinc is going to be our 700. We'll have a 2 zinc 700. Padding Y is going to be 2. So we have all these dynamic classes. Looks good. You can see it's automatically apply. Now we have to simply display the icon and the name. So we can simply come back, take the icon, and we have to give the HTML space tag, and then we can simply provide the name. Copy and paste here, and then we have to give the name, and there it is. You can see the icons and the names are reflecting fine. So either can click and they can select different category. Perfect. Absolutely great. Click, it will open. They can select the different models. Button is also looking good. Now we can come back to the index page, close this one. So we are done with the button as well. And now we have done with the notice as well. Button is also done. Now we can come back here. So right now we don't have data about the images, so we cannot work on this. We can work, but when we'll have the actual data, then we'll start working on it. And we have these two components, so we'll start working later. First we have to work on the important component. So we can come back here. Now we can simply go back to the component. Inside the global, we have this called auth. So we have to check the authentication. We have to allow user to log in and create their account. Then we can able to do the validation. So we can come back to the auth, and that's what we're going to work on it. So before we start working on it, we have to set this in our app.js page. So we can come back to the pages, and here we have to write the code, because there, right here in this page, we're going to attach the auth function. So we can come back here and we have to import a lot of things. So we can come back here. Let's import React. Let's call import React. In that we can take this use state and use effect. Then we have to simply import the header tag, because we have to display the title and the fab icon of our application. Then we have to simply import our cookie, because based on that we have to do the validation. Then we can come back here and we have to simply import the auth component, which is coming from the component. We got it. Now we can simply come back here and take the state variable. So first is going to be, let's call auth. It will be auth. By default it will be true, because we have to check whether the user is logged in. So it's going to be true. So let's make this small a. Then we can reload the page, come back here. We can take this use effect, and in that we have to simply make a call and check. So first we have to check the cookie. So we can say store cookie value, get cookie, which is the token. We'll say if it's available, and based on that we have to set this to false, otherwise we have to set it to true. If cookie is available, then simply make it false, otherwise make it true. We got it. Perfect. And that's the only thing we have to do. Now we can simply come back here, and here we have to simply import the header tag. In that have to display the title and the metadata. So first is going to be the title. You can call whatever you want. I will call AI image art, and I have to give my metadata. So first is going to be the name, so I'll call it description, and the second one is going to be content, and here you can give a brief description about your application. So AI image art generator powered by the blockchain coder. Perfect. We got our metadata. Now we can simply come back here and we can provide the fave icon. So we already have this icon in our file, asset file, so I'll access from there, assets / AI logo, AI logo.png, and this will be our call shortcut icon. Perfect. So we got our metadata in the header tag. Now we can simply come back here and we can build a dynamic block. So if auth is true, then we have to display the component, so we'll display that, and that's the only thing we have to do here. Everything's looking good. If I come back and make on the big screen, you will see that this data is available. So the name is changed, AI image art, and the logo is also reflecting here. You can see the logo is also reflecting. Perfect. The tabs are also working fine. Now we can come back here and start working on the auth component. So come back here, go back to the component global, and we have the auth component. So in that we have to do a lot of work, because in this we're going to have login as well as sign up. So first we have to import a couple of things. So let's make it side by side before we actually write the code. Looks good. You can see the auth component is visible on the top, and that's what we're going to work on it. So first thing, we have to simply import a couple of things. So it's going to be use state. Then we have to simply import the icon. It will be called login log. We'll have ISO login outline. Inside that we have to import. So first component is going to be the input field. The second one is going to be the loader. So this is the two components we're going to use it. Then we can come back here. We have to simply import the function we have built. In that we're going to take two things, register user, and we'll have a login user, and that's what we have. Now we can start working on the state variable. So let's take a couple of state variables. So first one is going to be the auth. Let's change this to true. Then we can come back here. Let's take the another one, which is for the loader. By default will be false. The third one we're going to have is for error. So when there is any problem will occur, that's the error message we have to display. So we have to simply remove it and empties. Then we can come back here, and this will be called login, and in that we're going to have the details about the login, like email and password. So it's going to be an object. So we call it email. This will be password, and this is the exact name we are giving in our function and receiving it. Okay. Then we can come back here. we'll take this for sign up. We'll say sign up. It will be our object. We'll take name, email, password, and we'll have a confirm password. Perfect. We got all of this. We got the component, the functions, state variables we have taken. Now we can start working on the function. So we can come back here. Let's write the funcs function. So this will be called calling register user. It's going to be an async function. It will receive the sign up data. It will come as a form of object. Then we have to simply take this try and catch. If anything goes wrong, we are returning the error. So that's what we have to receive. So first thing, we can simply console log out the entire error object. We can come back here and we can take this loader to true. Then we have to make a call to our API. We have built already. So we'll take this response await register user, and in that we have to simply pass the data called sign up. Perfect. We're going to make the API call and all the details we'll have in the response. So we can come back here. We'll say if response is there, then we can simply say set loader to false. We'll say set error is going to be the response. Perfect. Got it? I hope you guys have understood the logic, and simply copy and paste here. And that's what we can simply access the error, and we can say data error. Perfect. That's the entire function for register user. Got it? Now simply copy, and that's what we have to paste here, and this is going to be exactly the same for the login. We have to change the data. This will be login user, this will be login. Copy and paste here, and the rest should be fine. We don't need to make any changes. Perfect. We got the login and we got the register. Now we have to work on the JSX. So first we have to simply take this fragment. Inside that we're going to simply take the div. It will have a class. Let's call this fixed inset 0 background zing 900. We'll have background opacity is going to be 40, z index 5. You can see the apply perfectly. Then we'll have our inline style. We'll call this pointer events is going to be auto. So it's looking good. Now we can simply come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class called background zinc 800. We'll have items center fix shadow xl rounded 2xl z index 50 padding x 8 padding y is going to be, let's say, 8 text small. We'll have border zinc 700. It will have an inline styling. Let's call this one top is going to be 50%. We'll have a transform is going to be translate minus 50%. Left is going to be 50%, and we're going to have max width is going to be, let's say, 330 pixels. Perfect. You can see the box look good. Now we can come back here. We'll take this width is going to be 100 pixels, and max height is going to be, let's say, 85 VH. So there is a problem in the model. Why it's not in the middle? Okay, first work on it. We'll see that what exactly went wrong. Now we can come back here. We'll take a div. It will have another div. Inside the div, it will have a class flex call text zing 200 text center item center. Inside that we'll take our icon. There it is, the login logo icon. We got it. Now we can simply come back here. We'll take this dynamic data. We'll say if auth is true, then I want to display this, otherwise this. Perfect. This is our dynamic block. Now we can simply start working on it. So we'll take a div. Let's take a div, close this one, and let's turn this. We'll have a class style. Let's call this one margin. Top is going to be 1 RAM. Then we can come back, and inside the div we'll take a input. This is going to be our input component. In that we have to send the props. So first is going to be the placeholder. This will call email address. Then we have to send the type is going to be email. This will be handle click, and we already have the functions. We'll take the set login, and then we have to simply target the email, and we have to simply update that e.target.value. Pretty simple. Perfect. Let's change this. Okay, my bad. So simply remove this one, save it, and you can see we got this input. Now looks good. Come back here and we got the handle click. Now we can simply copy and paste here, and this will be going to be a password. This will be text, and here we have to change this to password, and here we have to add a custom style. So we'll say style CSS will have a 1 RAM, we'll have a button, we'll take on click, and we already built the function calling login user, and that we have to simply pass the data. So we'll say class is going to be over effect will have brightness 110, background gradient to top, will have from indigo 800, VIA indigo will have 800 to indigo is going to be 700, we'll have a border, indigo, and that's going to be 800. We'll have a padding X is going to be 4, padding Y is going to be 1.5, and we'll have a rounded is going to be large, we'll have a shadow, and we'll have a height is going to be 9, and width is going to be 64. We'll have a drop, shadow, we'll have flex, item centers, we'll have a justify, content, and margin top is going to be 3. So it looks pretty good. We got our button. In that we can display the text. So we can come back here, we'll say log in, and we can display the icons. We'll say if loader is true, then we have to display the loader component. So it will display the loader when the user will click on the login button. Perfect. We got it. You can see it's not perfectly aligned, so there is a problem in the alignment. So we can come back here in the code, and I can see the problem is happening here. So this is fine. Okay, this is the problem we have. Make sure to close this one. Okay, close this one. I hope you guys have noticed it. And here is the another problem. We have to simply remove this L from the width, then the width will apply properly. So make sure to do these 2 changes, save it. Now you can come back to the, and you can see reload the page, and it's perfectly aligned in the center. Let's bring it side by side and look good. So now it's in the middle. So our login is done. Now we have to work on the next statement. So what I will do is, it's going to be quite similar. So what we'll do that when the user will provide the wrong condition, I have to display the error message. So let's write that. So we'll take this, if error exists, then we have to simply display that. So we'll take a P, and it will have a style. We'll say color is going to be red, and it will have a padding. Top is going to be 0.5 RAM, and here it is C. Now if I type this, notice you can see the red, and it will display that. So it's also looking good. That's the one. Remove this one, save it. Now I can take one more. So I can come back, take a P, it will have a style, and this will be margin top is going to be 1 RAM. We'll have a display, flex, we'll have a justify, content, center, we'll have a align, item, and this will be gap is going to be 1.5 RAM, and we'll have a cursor is going to be a pointer. So we have to display the sign up button, so user can click and it will open the sign up component. So that looks good. Now I can simply come back here, it will have an on click function. So we'll take this, set auth is going to be false. If it's false, it will open the sign up, but if it's true, it will open the login. Here we can say, let's call it sign up, and we'll display our icon. Perfect. By default it will open login, but user can click and they can open the sign up component. So we are done with this. Now we can simply come back here, we'll take a div, let's take a style, it will have a margin top is going to be 1 RAM, and we have this component. So I guess I need couple of things. So let's do one thing, let's bring it back. You can see now the sign up component is opening, and we need couple of things. So we can simply copy this one, and let's copy this 2, and that's what we can simply paste here. So we got the 2 component, and all we have to do is to change it. So this will be the name, this will be text, and here we have to sign up, and this will be name. Copy and change here, and this will be email address, and here we have to say email. We got it, and this will be email. Now we need 2 more for password and confirm password. So simply copy this one and paste here, and here we have to change the password. So it will be password, and this will be password, and this will be text. Simply copy this one and paste here, and this one is going to be confirm password. So we'll say confirm password, and here we have to say confirm password. Save it. We got it. Now looks good. We got all the 4 component, and we need the button as well. So simply copy this one, copy this till here, error component as well, and that's what we can simply paste here. Got it? We got that. And we need this, so simply change the function. This will be called register user. We have to pass the sign up details, and this is fine. And here we have the error component. Now we can simply come back here and copy this one as well and display here. There it is. Perfect. And this will be login, and the rest will be fine. Now we can simply do and check one more time. Everything's looking good. We have no issue. So this is what we have, and this one is going to be a self-closing div. So let's close this one, and you can come back all the way down, and from here we have to remove one div. So just remove this one, save it, and perfect. So that's the only thing we have to do. Let's remove this one, and here we got it. Now we can simply come back here, and here we have this. So let's change this to true, and if you click, it will open sign up and login. Perfect. It's getting switched between the component. Now I can simply come back here, and here we have the placeholder. Simply copy that one, and that's what we can receive in the input field. So let's receive the placeholder. Then we have the handle change. Now we can come back here, convert it to an input, and remove this one. Then receive the data. So we'll have a style is going to be, let's say, margin top, and in that we can add the custom style. So we can say, let's receive that. We'll say style CSS, and that's what we can simply pass here. Save it. If you come back here, this is what we are providing. Simply copy, and that's what we can receive and change here. Then we can come here. We'll add the placeholder. It's going to be a placeholder. Let's add a type. Is going to be a type, and that's also what we have to receive. So let's receive here. We got the type. Now we can come back here, and let's add a classes. So we'll say width 64, padding x3, background zinc 700, focus is going to be outline none. We'll have focus ring 1. We'll have focus ring indigo 600. We'll have a rounded leg large border zinc 600. On over effect we have the brightness. Let's call this brightness 110. Got it. Look good, but we have to provide the padding as well. So come back here. Let's add a padding here. So we'll say padding is going to be y2, and there it is. Perfect. Now you can click, and you can go back to the different components for the login and the sign up. Looks good. Now we can come back here, and we can attach the function. So we'll say on change. We have the function. We'll say handle change. Perfect. So we are done with this. Let's have a look one more time, and here we have the login. So let's change this to, this is what we have, login and sign up. So I can come back here. This is where in the register user, and I have to change this to sign up. So they can simply go to different component. You can see it's changing. If it's login, then it will show sign up, but if it's sign up, then it will show login. Perfect. Working fine. Now we can come back here, and this is good. We don't need to make any changes. Everything is looking good, and now we are ready to test this out. So we can make it on the big screen, and let's test our login functionality we have already built. So let's reload the page, and let's try to provide some data. So if I paste this, and I paste this random and click on this login, is going to throw me this error that user not found. Means it's working absolutely fine. It's working without validation check, because we haven't created an account and we are trying to log in with the invalid data. So it's working, the error message. Now reload the page, come back to the sign up, and let's try to create an account. So I'll give this data, and I can simply click on the sign up. It will throw me this error that data is missing. It's also working fine. Perfect. Reload the page. Now we can simply come back to the sign up, and let's provide a real data. So we'll take this. We can simply call this the blockchain coders and we can give the email ID. So this is the email ID for the blockchain coder. If you have any question, you can simply ask me right up here. Then we can give a password 12345 12345, one of the strongest password, and click on the sign up. And here you can see it say data missing. Why? But we have provided all of these details. Let's do the console log and check why we are getting this error. And come back to the code and let's try to simply console log out this. Console.log. That's what I have. I can come back here and let's try the data, and you can see the data is not updating. Okay, the data is not there, it's still empty. So we have made some mistake in the update function. So come back here, and this is what we have is the sign up. So I have to change the spelling as well. I made a wrong spelling. So come back here and I can see the problem. Okay, here is the problem. So it's sign up is this one is fine, but here we have to call this a set sign up. So I can come back here and I can simply copy. I hope you guys have noticed this. You have to be little attentive, and that's what you have to change in all the 4 places. Select all and simply change. So we have changed that. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here, and here is the spelling mistake. So I can simply rectify this one. It's a sign up. Copy, and this looks good. No need to do any changes here. I can simply come back here, and this one is also wrong. Simply change it. Perfect. Save it. Now you can see everything is looking good. Now let's give the data. Let's give the data, all of this data, and perfectly we are getting all of this data is getting updated. Absolutely. Now you can reload the page and let's test this out. Now let's come back to the sign up and let's give the details. So this time I called the blockchain coder. Then we can give the email, the blockchain coder gmail.com 12345 12345, and sign up. And you can see our loader component is opening, but nothing is happening. Why? Again, this weird behavior I'm getting. Let's come back here and you can see there is no data available, but all the logic is looking good. We have done all the updates. So come back here and we have to do a little bit debugging. So we can come back here. So this is fine. This is the function we are calling it, and we are getting all of this data in this sign up, and that's what we are passing here. If I come back to the function, if I go to the utils, there you will find that if anything goes wrong, it's going to throw the error message, but the error message is also not getting. So what is the problem we are having? We are not getting the error message as well as any response. So we can come back to the utils. You can see this is the function we have, and we are providing this, deconstructing it, and then we are simply passing in our API, and it's taking all of this data. At the end, it's going to simply give us the response, or it's going to simply reload the page if there is a successful account creation. That's good. This is fine. There is no problem in that. Let's open our terminal, and you can see that I'm getting this error message that user is not found. So right now we are in the development, and when you will get an error in a development, you have to simply save it to restart the server. So you can see somehow my server got stuck, so I have to simply save the file to restart the server. If I save it, you can see it will restart the server. But when you will deploy your application online, the hosting provider will automatically restart your server whenever any problem will happen in your application. So you don't need to worry about it. So that's what you have to do. Restart your server. Simply ignore this warning because we are using some of the old version packages, not the updated one. And currently Node version is in the test phase. So that's why we are getting this. Simply ignore these warnings. It looks good. Our server is looking fine. There is no problem in that. Now we can simply reload the page. And let's try to test one more time. So what I will do is I'll make on the big screen, and I can simply come back here, give this credential, and give this text, the blockchain coder, give all of these details, and simply click on the sign up. And you can see we are getting all of this data, and here I'm getting this that user on email already exists. Okay, so you can see in the last API call, I guess we have created the account, and that's the error I'm getting here. So what I will do is, this looks fine, there is no problem in this. It's saying that the user is already exists. So come back to the database, and you can see this is the database I have open, and if I come back to the collection, you will find that all the accounts we have created. So if I come back to the user, you will see that the function we have built is also working fine. Absolutely, it's already working fine. You can see it's already there in the 2 users we have created. So the last user which we made the request is already got created. You can see the email and the username. So our function is working absolutely fine. So let's delete this to user and let's try to recreate one more time. So the function we have built for the backend API is working absolutely fine. Maybe in the front end code I'm just doing something wrong. That's what I have to spot here. So this is fine. Let's click here, console log out the response to check that what response we are getting back. And I can simply copy, and that's what I can do with the data as well. So I can simply, let's do one thing, copy this portion and let's console log out here. So we can see what data exactly we are providing after deconstructing. So simply remove this one. Now let's reload the page. Make sure to reload the page and save your file so it will restart the server. Now let's give the name. So I'll say Dall-E-v3. This will be the email ID. Let's call this coder and it will take the gmail.com password and we'll have our regular password and click on the sign up. And here you can see our account is got created successfully. We got a successful response. Okay, my bad. So this is good. All the data is got back. And the problem we have in the status code, you can see it's give us status code 201. If you can see, once you will create an account, the cookie will be available right up here in the browser. And that's what we're going to access. If I come back here, if I reload the page, click on this, it's going to give you the details about the user we have created just now. So it looks good, absolutely perfect. This is the email. Let's try to log in. I'll say and give the password. So once you create an account, you have to log in because that's the double authentication we have used. Let's click on this login and it's going to simply log in. You can see we have created an account successfully. Perfect. We can see by default we are providing 3 credit and that's what we are rendering. You can see the name is also reflecting fine. D is reflecting because we are taking the first character of the user. If I click on this, you can able to find the name, email and the credit left. So our account creation is working fine. I can simply log out and I can re-log in. Let's give me the password, log in, and I'm logged into the application. So our account creation is working absolutely fine. There is no problem in that. You can click and it's also working good on the mobile device. Now we can simply close this one, come back to the code and come back here, and here we have this input. Close this one, close this one, close this one, close this one, come back here in the loader and let's work on this loader before we actually test that why it's not reloading the page after the account creation. So let's work on this quickly. It's going to be a 3 to 4 lines of code. So what I can do, I can simply come back, take a class and let's call this 3 body, copy this one. Inside that we're going to take a 3 div. It will have dot and simply replicate it 3 times. Perfect, and save it. Got it? Now it will display our loader. So reload the page. Let's quickly log in. So I'll simply come back here, copy the email and the password. I'll give it 1 2 3 4 and click on this login, and you can see the loader is working fine. Now I can click on this and I'm logged in successfully and I can log out. Now I can simply paste. I can give one more password. Wrong, it will say wrong credential. So the login authentication is working fine. Now we have to work on the sign up. So reload the page and come back to the sign up and let's give the name, give the email, then we can give the password and we can give the confirm password and click on this sign up. So we have made the request, still nothing happening. Let's do the inspect element and let's come back to the console. We are getting the data. You can see all the data is reflecting there. If I come back to the database and if I do the refresh, you will see that okay, the account is created successfully, but why the page is not reloading? That's the weird thing happening here. So it's working fine. Now I can come back here. You can see our server got stopped. So simply save it one more time to restart. So I can come back to the files API section like this one and save it. So this is the starting file of our application. You have to come back to the index and you have to simply save it. And our application got started. Reload the page and there it is. So what I will do, I'll simply delete the user quickly to test one more time. So the login is working absolutely fine. Somehow the account creation is happening, but the page is not reloading perfectly. So let's come back here, sign up. Let's create one more account. I'll say, let's call this Jim. This will be jim@gmail.com 1 2 3 4 and this will be, let's click on this sign up. Okay, my bad. It's 201 status code. The account creation is happening, but its status code is 201 and I have used 200, I guess. That's why the page reload is not happening here. So if I come back here, And this is the one we have. Okay, this is the one. And here is the problem. You can see response.status is 200, but it's 201. Now it will work fine. So sometimes it's become very mind-boggling error. If I reload the page and everything would be working fine, I can simply give the email and I can pass it. If I call it, it will say data missing. Come back to the sign up and let's create, and let's log in with the account we have created. So I can say Jim, and this will be 1 2 3 4 and log in, and we have logged on. So you can see our account got created and we got the credit perfectly. Now let's come back to the sign up. Let's create a new account. So we'll say time@rate.com. We'll have a password. We'll sign up, and perfectly we are successfully logged in. Our page reload, and now we have to simply log in after creating an account. So we'll say time@gmail.com 1 2 3 4 5. Click on login, and there it is. We are back in our application perfectly. T is reflecting. So every single thing is working fine. I hope you guys have done the changes. Now simply close this one. Done with the loader. Now we can simply click on this and you can see it's reflecting the data about the user, and all of this looks great. And we can simply click and go to the next. Now we have all of this component which we have to work. So there's a lot of components we have to work. So this is the thing we have. Now we're going to simply come back here, and we can come back to the index page. And before we start working on the other component, let's set up the structure for history page and like page, because these are going to be a very small pages. So what I will do, these pages we're going to do later when we're going to create the images. So what I will do, I'll simply say select all, because this is what I'm going to simply replicate. Select all, and that's what we have to simply paste here in the history file. So that's fine. Copy this one, come back here in the history and simply select and remove and paste. Change this to history and simply copy this one, and that's what we have to simply change here as well. This will be history. Simply select, reload the page and click on the history, and you will be having the same thing in the history page. Perfect. Come back here, simply select, and that's what we'll have in the like page, and change this to likes. Copy, and that's what we have to change here to likes. Perfectly. Now we have to do a lot of changes. The structure is going to be the same. We have to change in the component and the variable type. So we can come back here and let's start with the history first. This is what we have. So first thing, we have to simply remove couple of packages which we don't need it. Remove this XCS, and we have to remove this router. Then we have to remove the SVG icon. So remove this one, and we have to remove the filter, and we have to remove this like magic and heart. Then I have to remove this like this heart we are not using on this. Let's remove this image. We are using the heart but not the image. So this looks fine. Let's remove this as well. This 4 we are using, and remove this one, remove this one, remove this one, and we have all of this. Now here we have the function. So instead of getting the, we have to get the user function, user. So we can have that already. So we can come back here and we can get this user, all user AI images, and we have this import. Now we have to change and remove couple of state variables. So we don't need this query, and we have to simply remove this one. We're going to have the loader, and we're going to have it. So what else we need to remove? So this is going to be fine. This is going to be remove it. Just remove this as well, and this is going to be okay. We don't need to have, actually we need the search bar in the history section as well. So just keep it. And here we have this 2 which is going to be there because we have to still filter and store based on the size. We don't need this credit, so remove this one. And we need this function change category. This is going to be exactly the same. And here we have the function. So here we're going to do a little bit changes. So this is what we have here. Now what I will do is I can simply come back here, and here we have this function. That's what we have to call. Instead of all images, we have to get the user images. We got it. And here we have to get the cookie from the browser, because only authenticate user can have the detail. So we'll take this, which is coming from cookie get token, and then we have to simply build an if statement. So we'll say if it's there, and we can validate it. So we can simply call our check auth function, and we have to store this data about the user in our active state user. And then we have to simply copy all of this code, and that's what we have to put inside this. So simply cut and paste here. We got this. We got all of this. Now we have to put more, so please select this one, and that's what we can simply paste here as well. Then we need this model as well, so like this is good. We can simply select all of this, and that's what we can paste here. Actually we don't need the cookie because we have taken on the top, so simply select and remove this one. Perfect. And this would be fine. And we need the search, so this function is going to be here. Just keep it as it is, and this is the render, which we're going to utilize it to render it. Perfect. So we come back to the JSX, and we need this header. We're going to have the same class, and here we're going to simply have this. Perfect. And we're going to have this div exactly the same. Here we have the logo. Actually we don't need the logo, we need the text. So let's do one thing. We can simply remove this and call history. This will be called history, and we have to add the classes. So let's remove this one, and let's add couple of classes. This will be called text 5xl. On a small screen we'll say text 6xl. On the medium device we'll say text 7xl, and on the margin bottom 8 font logo will have a font bold. Margin top is going to be 0, text center. So we got all of these classes. Looks good. Now we can come back here in the div, and we have to do a little bit changes here. So this looks fine. So this will be called 500, and let's remove this one, and let's remove this as well, and the rest should be fine. This is what we have. We need the function on the div, so don't need to make any changes here. Then we can come back to the search input field. So we need the input field, so just keep it as it is. We don't need to remove anything from here, but let's have a quick check here. So this looks good. Now we have this button, so actually we don't need this button, so remove that one, because it's going to be only the input field. So remove that one. Now we can come back here, and here you can see we have this flex. So let's change this to margin bottom is equal to 8. We have this still. Change this one, and this will be called search, and the rest should be fine. And here we have to simply remove this one and add the classes. We'll say width 32, small we'll say width 36, flex, item centers, text XL, justify center, text center, height 9, rounded, full, over effect will have brightness 110, background opacity 0, shadow small, margin top 4, background gradient top 2, from indigo 100, VIA indigo 900, we'll say to indigo 800, and that's the button we have. Looks good. Now we can come back here in the next section, and I guess we have to do the changes here as well. So we can come back here, and actually we don't need this section. Remove this one, and we have to close this one, and we have to remove this section as well. So let's bring it back. Let's remove this first, remove that, and we have to remove this div as well. So remove, select and remove it and save it. So we're going to have the buttons. Perfect. And is there any changes we have to do? Actually we don't need this as well, so remove this as well. Perfect. And here I have to build a dynamic block as well, because I have to check for the length of the images. So I can simply come back here. Let's come back here, and let's take a dynamic block. We'll say all image there is a length, means images are available for the user. Then I want to simply display the button component. So we need all of this. Simply cut and paste here. We got all of the button, and let's come back here and let's write the else. It's going to be nothing. Perfect. The category is going to be the same. So let's come back to this and come back here. We'll take a div, and it's going to be just a styling one. So we'll say margin top is going to be 2, and we'll have a space. Perfect. Okay, we already have this, so let's remove this one, and we already have this entire section, so we need all this entire section. Simply select this one, cut this, and that's what we're going to utilize it here. So let's take a, call it category, and let's paste this one. It's going to be exactly the same, because we have to display all the images created by the user. And here we have this grid. Perfect. And I just want to remove the gap. Let's remove this one, and this is going to be exactly the same. Perfect. Okay, here we have to write and display a message if there is no images created by the users. We'll take a div. Let's add a class text center, padding x10, text small, margin top is going to be 4, text zinc, we'll say 400. Inside that we'll take a p. It will say your camera roll is empty, and we have to redirect the user to the create page. So we'll say aperture, and we'll have a class. Let's call this generate an image. Okay, simply select and cut, and it will be underline, and we can display the text here. Perfect. Now we can come back here. This single component is going to be there, and actually we don't need this. Remove this one. Perfect. So that's the entire code for our history. Let's come back here and just reload the page. You can see things are looking good, but the alignment of this divs are not in perfectly aligned. So we have to check what we made. So we can come back here, and I can see this is fine. This is good. We don't need to make any changes here. So we can come back to the search and import, and here I guess we have to make the changes. So what we can do is we have to take a div. So we can simply come back here. Here we have the extra div. So this one is the extra one, I guess. Close this one, and let's remove this one. Remove this and remove this. Save it. We got it. Now we can simply, we got that. Now we can simply come back here, and we'll take a div, close this one, and from here we have to simply remove it, one div. I hope you guys have understood what we have done. So simply remove one div and close and reload the page, and there it is. You can see perfectly aligned. Let's check the responsiveness. It looks great. Perfect. So we have the text, and all of things are looking great. So we're done with this entire page. I hope you guys would follow along with me. Make sure to rewatch the video if you haven't understood properly. So our history page is done. Simply select all, copy, and that's what we're going to simply paste in our like. So let's select and remove and paste, and change this to likes, and simply copy, and that's what we can simply paste here, likes. And here we have to do a little bit changes. So we can simply come back to the likes. You can see we have the exact thing. We're in the like page. Now we can simply do the changes. So what I will do is I can simply come back here, and here I can change the text. So this will be called likes, and we don't need this. Actually we need button, not the anchor. Let's take a div, and let's change this one, and here we can simply remove this. This will be 7, and here we can say margin bottom is going to be 12, font logo, font bold, margin top, and this will be likes. Perfect. This is good. We're not going to have the filter. So this is what we have. So close this one, and we have to remove this one because we don't need this. We have to display only the images. We don't need to have the filter. We don't need to have the buttons. This is fine. We are getting this. Copy this one, and that's what we have to paste here. Perfect. And do we need the button? Yes, we need the button, and the card looks fine. And here we can change the text. So let's select this one and say you haven't like any images yet, and the rest will be fine. And we have to make the changes in the function as well. So reload the page. That's how it's going to look the like page. The like page is ready, history page is ready. Now we have to do the changes in the function. Like there is no need to do any changes in the change category function, but we have to do the changes here in the calling all posts, because this time we have to simply call the all images, all post. So here we have to do the changes. So I can simply come back here in the let's say where we can come back to the index, and we have to simply copy this get AI images, all images, and that's what we can simply call it here. And we have to import here as well. We got the function. Now we have to build an if statement to run and check those images liked by the user. So that's the image we have to display here in the like page, not all the images. All the images which user will like, only that images we have to display. So here we have to build a if statement. So this is the for each we have. In the response we'll have the entire array. So we have to add one more if condition here right on top. So we'll say if, let's close this one. We'll say if like element likes includes, if that likes will be in array, in that if it includes the user ID, means the current user ID which can get by this user ID. If it's include means that user is like that particular post. So we can simply take and we can cut and paste here, and that's the only thing you have to do. Perfect. We're done with that. I hope you guys have understood that what we have done. We have simply checking the user have liked or not. If it likes, then we want to simply execute, and we have to simply store that in a perfect category, and the rest would be fine. Looks good. This is the image, auth, and that's what we are checking here. So that's the entire thing. Now we can simply come back to the likes. It's also looking great. So we are done with that all. Now we can simply come back here in the aperture, means in the create section, and that's what we're going to work next. So if I reload the page, you will see everything is working fine. There is no post, that's why no data is reflecting, but when the data will come, it will reflect fine. Now we have to work on this generate one aperture. So come back here. We have to simply select all of this, and that's what we're going to simply paste here. So simply select and remove and paste, and we have to remove couple of things. So remove this one, we have to remove this, and remove the icons, couple of icons. So this time we're going to take only 3 icons. Let's move this one, and in the component we're going to import couple of component as well. So we're going to take this. We don't want the, let's say we want the prompt input, and we want the prompt. Got it? Now we can simply remove this one to AI processing. Got it? Now we can simply come back here and remove that, and then we have to simply import the subscription component. That's what we got it. Now we have this. This looks good, and we don't need this. Remove that one and save it. So this is all the component we're going to utilize it. This is perfect. Now we can come back to the utils, and there you will see that we have this particular function like v2, v3, and these are the function we need. So simply copy, and that's what we can import. Then we can come back here, copy this one. Let's import that. We got the 2 functions. Now we have to get, let's say, one more for the user. So let's come back here, and we have to get the user one and replace with this one. And we need all of this 4 function. Looking good. Now we have to do the changes in the state variable perfectly. So we have to remove this, and we have to simply come back here, and we don't need this one. We don't need this one. Actually, we need loader. Remove that one. These 3 things we need it. And by default, I want to take one more. So I'll take this use state, and this will be called active model. By default, it will be false. Then I can take another one. This will be called error, because when we get the error from the API, we have to display that. So that's what we have. And in the category, by default, I will show YouTube, and this is fine. This is good. Don't need to make any changes, and we can simply remove this copy because we are not going to add filter. So just keep it as it is. We don't need to have search, so remove that one, and just remove this query part as well. We don't need this. Remove this. Actually, we need this because this function we're going to attach on the button, so user can change between the categories. So we need this function perfectly. Now we can come back here, and let's take a state variable. This will be called prompt v3, and in that we need couple of data which we're going to take from the user. So let's take that. So it will be have prompt, then we'll have a negative prompt, then we'll have the size, we'll have a style. Perfect. And by default we'll go with this one, vivid, and this will be this particular size, 100, 1000, 24, 1024, and simply copy this one and paste here, and this is going to be for v2. And we have to change the few things in here. So we don't need this style, we need the number. By default I will set 3, and the size is also going to be a different one. So we'll say 256, 256. Perfect. We got it. Now we have to build the function for both the model. So we can come back here, and we'll take this use effect. In that we'll have to get the model from the local storage. So we'll check this. Get item is going to be active model, and once the value is available, I have to simply set that in the model, and I want to run this every time there is a change in the model, active model. Perfect. That's the hook is working fine, and this is the function, and we don't need this function handle click and also all of this. So let's select and remove this one, remove the 4 and save it, and we're going to have this. We can come back here and let's start working the function. So let's take a variable called click v3, means we're going to call the v3 model. It will be async function. In that we're going to receive the prompt v3, We'll take a try and catch, and we have to catch an error if anything goes wrong. First we have to activate the loader, then we have to simply make a call to our API. We'll say await v3, in that we have to pass the prompt. Then we have to build if statement. So if the response is success is equal to data missing, means the data is not provided properly. So if the response is equal to data missing, then we have to throw the error message and update that. So we'll take this response and we'll set the loader to false. Else we can simply say status code is equal to 201, means for create. Then we can simply display that. We'll say set loader to false, and this will be called set single ID is going to be the ID of the post, which we're going to pass to our single image component. Perfect. And here we have to simply deal with the error. So we have to construct the error. So this error can happen from two places, one from OpenAI and the other one is from the backend. So we have to construct that error. So we'll take this error message. First we'll get this error.message. So when there is an error available in the OpenAI, that's what we are accessing. Otherwise we can go with this default error. An unexpected error occur, we'll say OpenAI. Perfect. We can set this loader to false and we can set the error into the error component, and that's our v3 is ready. And this data is missing is important variable which you have to check in the util. So if you come back here in the v3 model, actually v3, and here you can see we are passing data is missing, so we have to check the spelling. That's what you have to provide, data is missing, and that's the exact thing you have to do here in this. Well, so data is missing, paste, and here you have to check, and here you have to check. Perfect. So this function is ready. Now simply copy, replicate it, and change this to v2, and change this v2, and we have to change the function to v2, and we have this. Now change this v2, and the rest should be fine. Just keep it as it is. Perfect. So our function is ready. Now we can simply ahead and start working on our other component. So this is fine. Now we're going to simply take this portion, like take this one and bring it here, and we need to adjust the component. So we're going to simply remove this one. We'll have a div without class, and here we have to do the changes. Remove this one. This will be overflex hidden. We don't need this section, logo and the value, remove that one. And here we have this, and here we have to have the full width. So let's remove this portion. Let's add this on small screen. Margin top is going to be 4, medium screen margin top is going to be 10. Perfect. And we have this full. Let's change this to padding x is going to be 2, medium device padding x is going to be 10, large padding x 16, and flex item center, flex column, and we'll have a max width is going to be 1300 pixels. We'll have width full, and we can come back here, and once we have this, let's do one thing, and we can come back here. Let's take a div. We'll call it part 1, and we can take a div. It will have a class called width full, flex column, reverse. We'll have on the medium scale, we'll say flex row, and that's what we have. So I can simply remove this one and save it, because we don't need that. Here we have inside the div, we'll take a prompt, and in that we can send all the prompt. Let's send that. It's going to be v3. We'll say set prompt v3. We have to do the same thing for the v2. Then we have to take this v2. Then we can take the loader, error. We can take this active user, and we'll have our function. So we'll say generate function, and we have to simply call it. So we'll take this, build a dynamic condition based on the model. So we'll take this, if active model is equal to v2, like v3, then we have to call this v3 function and pass the prompt, else we have to call the v2 model. Perfect. So that's our first prompt. Now we have to work on the input field. So we'll say prompt info, and we have to provide the exact prompt. So we're going to simply copy this portion and paste here, and we need to do a little bit changes. So we need to add this active model, and we have to add this sect active model as well. Got it? Now we can simply remove this one, and we are done with that. I guess we are done with that. Now we can simply come back here, and here we have to work on the body. So this will contain the body. So let's take a div. It will have a class called item center width full. Max width is going to be 800 pixels. Inside that, margin top is going to be 8. Padding X is going to be 4. Padding left is going to be 5. On the medium device, we'll say padding X 5. It will have a style. We'll say min height is going to be 1 pixels. We'll have a position is going to be relative, and inside that we'll take a div. We're going to have empty div because we don't want to add any classes. We just want to have a space. Let's come back here, and here we're going to simply add our subscription component. In that, we can send the user information, active user. That's good. Now we have this, so I don't need this. Remove this one. Fine. Now we can simply close this one. Actually, remove this one as well. Select this, and let's do one thing. We need to close this one, and this is what we have. So we don't need this. We want to use a different component called AI one. So we'll call this loader. If it's true, then we have to display the AI processing, and in that we can simply pass nothing. This is going to be here, and looks good. And we have this 4, but we need to have one more. So we can come back here, and let's close this one. And from here we can simply do one thing. We can simply close this div and remove this portion. And we have this empty div, and remove this as well because we don't need this. We got it. Now we can come back here, and we can come here. We'll leave one div, and actually we don't need this empty self-closing div. Remove this as well. Perfect. Now actually remove this one and call this body. Come back here, reload the page, and there it is. You can see our full width is taking, and we have the button. If I click, it will giving me this error because this particular variable is not there, but everything is working fine. You can see perfectly it's aligned. So all I have to do is to simply come back here in the change function, change category, and I have to simply remove this one. Remove this, remove this. Let's format this properly. Do the same thing from here, and here. We got it. Reload the page. Now you can click and you can go to different tab. Perfect. So we're done with this. Now we're going to start working on this component. So perfect. This is the one which we're going to work. So simply copy, and let's receive that as a prompt. And that's what we have to receive. Let's quickly format that. Perfect. And that's the only thing I want to cover in this video because this video is already very long. In the next video, we're going to start continuing from here. So let's move to the next video.